Hi top recruiter readers, my name is Johnny Campbell from Social Talent and I teach people how to be black belts. What's a black belt? Well, we're going to show you how black belt recruiters use LinkedIn. Black belt recruiters get the most out of LinkedIn. To quote Glenn Cathy, they drive it like they stole it. They know how to find every candidate for every job in every location, how to message them for free on free accounts, how to get the best message over to them to guarantee engagement, and how to basically use all the tips and tricks of LinkedIn. So over the next 30 minutes, we're going to show you the best of and lots of tips for you that will hopefully prove extremely useful. So get your pen and paper ready. You're going to be taking lots of notes. So we're going to take an example that was brought up at the Sourcing Summit EU conference last week in Amsterdam that got my attention, which I thought was pretty interesting, which was a penetration tester. I always laugh when I hear this. It's the child in me. I'm maybe 36 years of age, but I still laugh when somebody says they want to find a penetration tester. And to be honest, most of the audience do as well. What are penetration testers? Well, they are ethical hackers. They are people who try and test whether you can penetrate a data system. So this is particularly important over this last summer where we've heard so much about data corruption and hackers and so on and so forth. These are the people that security companies hire to try and break their systems to see, can it be tested, i.e. the penetration testing, and is it secure, and can a hacker get in? And they use hackers to do this. So we're going to look at how a recruiter approaches this search if they have the black belt training. So the first off, typically what you're finding a good black belt doing is making sure that they fully understand the job spec. And to do that, they take a complete spec from the hiring manager or their client, making sure that they understand all the needs required here. So I'm just going to give you an idea of what a black belt would do to start this off. So the first thing is to have a look at the title, penetration tester. And then they might look at something, a location. For example, I'm going to look at London as a location here. And you might have somebody who has some security qualifications as background, maybe as a hacker, etc., etc. Maybe has worked within the security industry for some of the top competitors within that industry. So you get an idea of what the spec is, and a black belt builds their search on Notepad or an open format that doesn't have any formatting to try and understand what Boolean strings they're going to need. If they already have Boolean strings to hand, they'll use them to quickly build this rather than research from scratch and then adjust as necessary. And I'll show you how that applies in a second. But you may have a role like this that you've never recruited before, and this applies to any type of job you guys are recruiting for, is to break it into its constituent parts and think of synonyms. So one of the things we discussed last week at the Sourcing Summit was the power of synonyms. Now, Boolean is a simple language, and or not, quotes, brackets, some minuses, whatever it might be. The real power is in your synonym research and making sure you're thinking of all the different words somebody could use to describe the same skill, title, location, attribute, whatever that might be. And that's the art of recruiting. It's that softer side. Where, what are the words, that research element? So one of the great places we start when you're looking at a penetration tester, first of all, is to say there's two parts of this. There's a penetration part and there's the tester part. Understand the different words we could use to try and figure out what is what. So the easy place to start is Wikipedia. Going into Google and saying wiki penetration testing, for example, brings up penetration test as an article on Wikipedia. This allows us to see from a set website that lists information about each topic, word, etc. And we find Wikipedia fantastic here. You can get great ideas of other synonyms. So for example, a penetration test, occasionally pen test, our first synonym of the day is pen test. And basically the Boolean searcher, or the black belts, going to start building out all the different ways to say these things. So pen test, we go through this, attack on a computer, process involves an active analysis. So we start reading through this to understand the other job titles this could have. So security audit, so it could be somebody who does security. So we could say somebody's pen test or security, and then tester, and then obviously you're going to go for testing, tested, audit, audits, so all the different synonyms there, the basic easy ones. So full security audits, the payment card industry data security standard, PCI DSS. You might put that in as a job title as well. Look for the standards in here. So the Information Assurance Certification Review Board, so IACRB, all things that mean somebody's working within this area. And then the Certified Penetration Tester, a CPT. So you could put CPT in here, and you'd also put it in the second line because that allows one person to have that one acronym covering both words. And you go down Look at some of the software they use, which would imply, again, if somebody's using Metasploit or W3AF, it implies that they are doing this job, etc., etc. And you also see things like black box, backtrack, IT risk, related words that we think might give us an indication somebody is a hacker. So where else can we go from here, okay? So you can look at the list of network penetration testing software, which is pretty good, a nice external link to give you a full list of software this person could be using. But usually a LinkedIn black belt will go on to LinkedIn itself and go to linkedin.com/skills. There used to be a page you'd find under the old More button. Now you have to type that into the URL. And you can actually put in something like penetration testing here. So penetration testing comes up under this list of things we could use for penetration testing for the word penetration. We open that up and we find to the left-hand side a list of keywords that are related to penetration testing. And as we know, or should know, and definitely if you're a black belt, you'll know, LinkedIn use this tool, or build this tool by looking at everybody on the whole network of 242 million profiles who has the phrase penetration testing anywhere, not just in their skills, but anywhere. And it tries to find patterns of other phrases they tend to have as well, using an algorithm that does this automatically. Hence why it's been in beta for the last 2.5 years. So we can further build our search strings here by looking at the other keywords that this person might have. So we'll look at things like core impact, burp suite, what is that? Web application security, exploit, secure code review, attack and penetration, threat modeling, loads of different things that can pull up different ways to say the same type of skill. How it impacts your search results is like follows, or as follows. If I was to do a normal search on LinkedIn for someone who had, let's say, penetration tester as a current job title in the UK. So leave it open and don't forget to click your third and everyone else unless you're using a recruiter account. Press search here. We'll see how many people there are, 144. All right, so that's a good start. So we might look at Jeff here and have a look at Jeff and see what he's like. But we'll also check out on the side the people also viewed section. So here we get an idea of people who probably are similar to Jeff, because people who view Jeff tend to look at these people. And you see a lot of them have the same title, penetration tester, but security consultant is a title that pops up here, also pops up here, security geek. Okay, so we're getting different ideas of the type of synonyms we could be using to try and find these people. So again, we look at things like security, and we look at tester or consultant or geek, for example. So we're expanding out all those different keywords to try and find someone who has the right experience. So that's how one way we might do it. We'd also perhaps look at some of the similar profiles. So if we're going back in here and looking at our search results, you know, we might look at Jeff here and use the similar tool in LinkedIn by clicking within the results on similar, and LinkedIn will go off and run its similar algorithm to try and find people who have similar skills according to how that algorithm is built, looking at the keywords, etc. And we see IT security consultant, penetration tester obviously popping in a lot here, security consultant popping up a lot, security engineer, there's a good one, test consultant. Okay, so we have a look there and say, we didn't think of engineer, let's build that out. And we have test consultant. Okay, so test consultant, we have consultant here, tester, yeah, we're okay on that, okay? So we've got different variants and different ways to approach it. The big thing is that a good black belt keeps looking and working those synonyms, because you have to get into the mind of your candidate to understand what ways they use to describe themselves. And if I take, for example, a search we prepared earlier, here's one we had in the bag that had penetration, pen, vulnerability, stress, hacker, hack, security, secure, hack, coder, pen test. And then we've got all these different tester, architect, engineer, etc. We can run a search with the variance of the first job keyword in the job title and the second keyword in the job title. And when we rerun our search, we go from, if I pull back here and show you the original search results we had, 143. If I was to reset that and go with a brand new search, I'll show you what we can get. On our advanced search, we change our keywords here, keep it on first, second, group, third, so we're covering everybody. Run that search again, and instead of the 143 we first found, we now find 16,000 people. So this is kind of what it means to be a black belt. You get more from LinkedIn by thinking like your candidate. knowing how to research, and we give a universal search method in our training that shows people how to actually think about building up synonyms with rules about 7 or 8 different ways to approach synonym research, and then sites and tools to use to do that. But you're finding an increasingly expanded amount of people vastly better using something like LinkedIn. Your colleague who has LinkedIn Recruiter, are paying a lot of money or lots of connections, gets no additional value from that unless they can think like a candidate, unless they can do the research and know what keywords to use. And don't get me wrong, not all of these individuals will be right. For example, we've got some recruiters in here, but we filter those people by, for example, minusing recruitment, recruiter, recruiting, talent, and we add other criteria such as we'll go back and say, is there software required here? So someone has a Czech background, or they have a qualification, or they have some sort of standards within security to try and narrow these down. And we'll know to then take some of these keywords and put them in the overall keyword section to further filter this, because they don't just expand their searches to find more people. Great black belts filter it down to people who are just perfect, who have exactly the type of skills, training, qualifications, certifications that are required for this job. Again, that comes back to old-fashioned communicating with the hiring manager or the client to understand what those exact needs are, so you can really narrow down who these people are and get the right individuals, and then filter out by getting rid of people from sales background. For example, in their title, you might say sales, get rid of those guys, recruitment, maybe get rid of some of the directors, etc. So you're again filtering down so that you get a nice, controllable, manageable number of search results that are of high quality. So when you get those search results, we decide, let's say 169 people who are fairly confident can do this job. We decide how we filter them. So of course, you're probably going to pick a location closest to where you're recruiting. So that might be London. And we look at the 34 here, we're in London. And then we might just look up who do they work for. So we use these faceted filters on the left-hand side to, for example, see that within our search, there's 2 from PwC, 2 from UBS, 2 from Acumen, 2 from Deloitte, 1 from Verizon, etc. And you might want to look at the 2 UBS employees straight away because perhaps you're in banking and that's the best match in terms of the fit for your role. And you'll look at Miles and you look at Zombor like that. So whatever way you want to do it. So they know how to filter the searches to get down to the perfect amount, and they know how to prioritize the results. A different way of looking at your filters, rather than just looking at perhaps the location or looking at the employers, you might look at where they went to school. So you might say, we'll leave all these locations in here, and we'll leave all the employers in here as well. But what we'll do is we'll try and filter by the school they went to. So we'll go down here, look at the school, expand that out, and we can add all the London-based schools on the logic that if you've gone to school in London, perhaps you'll be interested in returning to London. Now, London's probably a bad example. We might want to try and find people who've gone to Glasgow. So where I am this week, on Glasgow starting the week, I'll be in Budapest tomorrow at True Budapest. So if you're looking for something to follow, the hashtag True Budapest tomorrow or Thursday. If you're watching the recording, try and see if there's anything back on Twitter, but tomorrow you'll find stuff. So I can just find the Glasgow-based schools, or the schools or universities that have keywords containing Glasgow. I can add them to my filters there. If there's no one there, there's no one there. But that might be another way of trying to filter this search and do what you need to do, even on a free account. You'll have to excuse me, I have a bit of a cold and needing lots of water. So what else can black belts do? So I've got a big enough network that I'm seeing a lot of people's names and profile details here. But what if I didn't have such a big network? So what if I had a small network, or I had no network and I was on a free account? How could you achieve the same results? So let me show you what that looks like. I'm going to log into an account that I use often for training. This is an account for Mick. Mick is a fictitious employee of the company, so excuse me if anyone from LinkedIn is watching. I use it for training. He's got one contact in the whole wide world, which is me. So let's have a look and see what Mick gets when he does the searches. So we'll take the same exact search by just copying the URL here. We'll jump back into Mick's account and see what Mick sees when he runs the same search. You'll see he sees the same amount of results, always the exact same number of results, because your search filters are the same across all accounts. Well, pardon me, your filters aren't, but applying the same Boolean will give you the same number of results. But you'll see that he sees a different order of results and he sees some private people. So for example, this guy here, private profile, can't get at him. So what a black belt recruiter will do is they won't be held back by not seeing someone's surname or not seeing their full name. A black belt can get around that quite quickly. So they'll understand how the data is structured on LinkedIn. they'll use their tools to figure out, let me just kind of here, how to find that name. So we use nice little shortcut tricks like we have here. We basically swap out some code in the URL so that in the same account, you'll see the exact same account where I have for this LinkedIn member that I can't see right now. We can jump over here, and what we'll do is we'll load up what will be the full person's profile, Justin Greenwood Delgado, and you'll see if we click on his name, again, still in the same account. I haven't left that account. Whilst back here, we were restricted in what we could see. We could see nothing about the guy. He had 180 connections. Here, in the same account, we now can see he's got 180 connections, but we can view all that LinkedIn has on this guy, his full data. So we can scroll down, see his full work experience. We can see his connections, or not his connections, his groups, his interests. All this information is now fully available to us, even though we're in the same LinkedIn account. We haven't upgraded, we haven't added him as connection, but just understanding how the data works and understanding how to leverage that. So you get the same power that anybody else would on a full premium account on LinkedIn. Again, there are benefits to having a recruiter account because it can speed you up, but certainly not having a recruiter account should not slow you down in your search, and would never slow somebody down who's a great recruiter and certainly not a black belt. One and the same thing. What do you do when you find someone like this? If I'm going to scroll back up here and show you exactly what I need to do. This guy works at KPMG in Wales, so we're trying to reach out to this guy. So we could send him an email. We don't have any emails, so we could send him a connection request, and the majority of people don't accept connection requests from strangers. We'd have to lie about how we know him. Or we could just say, well, this guy works in Cardiff for KPMG, so we might look up on Google Maps KPMG in Cardiff. Let's ring the office and have a chat with this guy. So we go to google.com maps. All we'll do is basically plug in the keywords of that location that we need to find. So KPMG in Cardiff, and we'll open up a list of locations. So bear with me 2 seconds while my internet speed goes. I forgot to plug in my Ethernet cable. So let me just try this here. So this is the new Google Maps, by the way. You should have a look at this if you haven't already registered for it, but bear with it. So the logic is that Google Maps takes the addresses of all the different companies around the world and usually takes that from a phone directory. So it tends to also have the phone numbers associated with each of those buildings. So we put in something like KPMG, Cardiff in the UK, and we run a search for that. We should be able to bring back a listing of results that match that location. So KPMG, Cardiff, UK. Run that search, and what we're doing is looking on the left-hand side for the address and the phone number. So you'll see the direct line number of that physical office sitting here. So that's one way we might want to reach out to this guy, just phone the office. Different parts of Europe, different parts of the world, great recruiters doing that, not doing that. Why not call the guy, have a chat with them? Okay, it's about getting to the person. It's not about getting a name. Anyone can get a name. A qualified lead's what you're after. Is this person interested in working for us or our client? Second thing to do is to try and figure out the pattern of emails for staff who work at KPMG. So if we don't do a lot of emails from ourselves to KPMG staff, perhaps we never tried to recruit someone from KPMG before, we probably aren't familiar with their email patterns, but there are easy ways to try and figure that stuff out. Sorry again. So what we're going to do is we're going to try and run a search on Google that tries to find email patterns for individuals like this. So we're trying to find KPMG in the UK. So you'll see that we have the company here, and we could look them up and see if we can find their website. I imagine it's kpmg.com or .co.uk, whatever it redirects to. That isn't necessarily the same email domain that the company is using. So let me just load up Google here, and we'll try and find that pattern. So let's go in here. First thing we do is just type in the name of the company we're trying to research, and that's usually the easy way to do it. KPMG in the UK, see what their main corporate address is. So KPMG UK. I've had faster days on the internet than this. You'll see kpmg.com/UK. So maybe it's .com. So let's try and figure this out. We type this pattern in. Let's say com, and then we'll type in something like Cardiff to try and find people in Cardiff. So email space ** kpmg.com and the word Cardiff. I'm looking for web pages that have the pattern of the email address with the word Cardiff to see if they're the right people. So you'll see that I've got Jay Glasser at kpmg.com, Randy Rosum at kpmg.com. They seem to be in the US though. Cardiff by the Sea, not quite the same one. So I don't think .com is working. So let's try .co.uk, because that might work instead, because it's UK based, that's the UK domain. See, do I get more email patterns than that? So we get experienced careers, hire careers at kpmg.co.uk. Seems we have the right email pattern for sure here. Now we're just looking for some patterns of real employees. So you get Katrin.Bodker, Aman.Wang. I think we're in business. Paul.O'Neill. First name surname seems to work fine here. So once with the guys, it's Justin.Greenwood Delgado. Maybe it's Greenwood-Delgado. We got to figure that out, but we pretty much know it's first name surname. And we can actually use sites like mailtester.com to then go validate that, or use Reportive on our email and go validate that as well. So we can take his name, we can copy it out, and we can try and plug that into our mail tester based on the pattern we have. Run that search, see if it gives us a ping, yes or no, if the server is available to be pinged, and off we go, and we can write a carefully constructed message to this guy. So let's try this out and see if KPMG's email addresses are verifiable in the UK. So again, you just put what you think the pattern is here. Oh, so that's not working there. So Justin Greenwood Delgado. So Justin.Greenwood, let's see, at kpmg.co.uk. So let's try that first of all. Check address. If we get a green light, it means it's verifiable and it works. Red light means it is verifiable, but this isn't the right email address. If we get an amber or orange, it means that just this domain is not verifiable. If that's the case, we'll go try it on Reportive and run it there. So it is a verifiable domain, but we need to maybe look and say .delgado. Does that make a difference? Check that address and see if we get a green light. Or we might check .delgado as well and try and find the pattern. Or let's take away the hyphen and see if that works nicely and put it all together. And again, we try different variants very quickly until we can confirm that is, as you see there, definitely the right email address for this guy. So Justin.Greenwood Delgado, no hyphens, no dots, at kpmg.co.uk. Off you go. So what we'll do now is personalize our approach to him. We'll probably take Justin.Greenwood Delgado at kpmg.co.uk. We'll look him up on other sources. So what we'll probably do is we can log on to Google, use Reportive, see what other sites he's on, research the guy, make sure we get a perfect message that it appeals to him, because this is the selling opportunity. It needs to be personalized. We'll mention at least 2 personal items here. We'll focus on you, your, yours. Again, all about the selling messages, which is a big part of our training program. Not just finding people, but how do you sell to them? How do you get more people to reply to your messages statistically? Or do you even use LinkedIn as a medium? We're using email here, but maybe we skip it and go, this guy's on Twitter. Find the guy on Twitter, see he's tweeting all the time, and tweet him that way. So again, you try and look at the medium and look at the message and try and approach it a different way. And that's just how black belts use LinkedIn. There's a whole host of other ways they use all the other social sites. We are running out of time though. I gotta go because I gotta get myself to Budapest for tomorrow's True Budapest. So I want to leave you with just those quick steps just to say, are you doing that? Is that how you're using LinkedIn? Are you researching, pulling together nice Boolean strings, multiplying out your answers, your profiles, but then narrowing it down to perfect people only, filtering them correctly to get the best people first, getting their contact details really quickly, and understanding how to message them so that most of them reply to you quickly as well? Are you that good? I hope you are. If you're watching our webinars, maybe you picked up a few more things. If you'd like to be better, our Black Belt program can teach you more of that. Please check it out at socialtalent.co. Tons of free webinars and information on that as well. We have a new site up that's still a little bit all over the place. We're working on changes, so bear with us. Give us your opinion. Let us know if you like it, don't like it, what we need to change it to make it better as well. But you'll be able to sign up or even get a live demo or free demo on the site there and check out the pricing.